This video is not about economics. It's about freedom of speech. And we love our freedom of speech. We may have terrible roads, we may have overcrowded trains, we may have companies that are light years behind on innovation. But China, where is your freedom of speech? You can literally see the veins pop out of Foreign Minister S. Jaishankar's head whenever someone points out to him how India is ranked low on any freedom of speech or democracy index. Of course, India has freedom of speech. Anti-India forces are giving you wrong answers, he says. So, freedom of speech is very sacred to us. That is, until it offends us. Then we say things like, freedom of speech is fine, but don't be reckless. Apologize immediately. We will find who funded you to make that speech. Come to our city again and we will do your dhulai. By the way, we have also decided that the very ground on which you spoke also deserves punishment. First, the unofficial kind, where we will send our party goons to go and ransack the place. Please don't question law and order. We take it very seriously. The police were there all along, standing respectfully. Then, when the bloodlust of the goons are satisfied, we will send the official goons. Overnight, the municipality will suddenly discover that your house or the venue has some or the other building violation. By the way, please don't get us wrong. We are totally okay with unauthorized construction. In fact, we support it. It is there everywhere in the city because of our complicity. But that's only as long as you don't offend us. Because when we don't like you, our bulldozers are ready. Chief ministers across party lines are now trying to outshine themselves on how ready they are to unleash their bulldozers on people that they don't like. Not realizing that businesses, foreign investors are not impressed by your bulldozer Bahubali. They are in fact traumatized to see the breakdown of the rule of law. Because no amount of global investor conferences can undo the image of a government that acts as the prosecutor, judge and executioner all rolled into one. But then you can always say, okay, you want the law, let's give you law. We will file cases against you. It may be frivolous ones, but so what? You will spend the next months and years trying to battle through a judicial system that is so overburdened with cases that the whole process will lobotomize you into silence. So please don't say that there is no freedom of speech in India. It's very much there. Just stay within your limits. Limits that we will define for you. So you have freedom of speech, but you can't offend a religion, even unintentionally. You have freedom of speech, but better not offend any community or state. You have freedom of speech, but don't you dare insult any historical figure that we worship. And, of course, you have freedom of speech, but hands off when it comes to our leaders. Not realizing the paradox that freedom of speech is not determined by what you can say, but by what you can't say. It's not the joke that is important. The joke might be terrible. You might not even agree with the message of the joke. But the freedom to make that joke without the establishment coming crashing down on you is sacrosanct. That is the true metric of how free you really are. Because even prisoners are technically free as long as they walk within the four walls of their cell. And so we have now become a nation where most people are always on the brink of getting offended. And so we don't encourage creativity, we don't encourage critical thinking, we don't encourage humor that tests the limits, we don't encourage dissent. The disclaimers that we put before films and serials in India are like essays. They are already apologizing in advance for any offense that may pop up in your mind in the next hour or so of watching that video. We keep saying we want to be Vishwaguru, but have a look at how much freedom of speech is actually there in current Vishwagurus. There's a program in the US called Saturday Night Live. It kind of does silly small skits by celebrities. You should see how much they pull the leg of the government there. How much they are currently making fun of Trump, Musk, and other people around them. Have a look at any of the political shows in the developed world. Their comedians and public commentators regularly criticize, mimic, lampoon, and laugh at people in power in a way that would send our freedom of speech ecosystem into a cardiac shock. And by the way, this is not a sign of weakness of their politics. It's a sign of maturity of their system. That the political class cannot and do not rely on censorship to control their image. Look, I am no fan of Nehru. He did a lot of things that make little sense now. But during his time, there used to be a famous cartoonist with Hindustan Times called Shankar. And Shankar used to make scathing political cartoons that were immensely popular with the public. This was a time when the newspaper was essentially the biggest social media around. Shankar's cartoons would sting so much that he even managed to offend Mahatma Gandhi, who reportedly fired off a postcard essentially saying, "Stay in your limits." And to this cartoonist, Nehru, the first Prime Minister of Free India, famously said, "Don't spare me, Shankar." Basically saying, don't be in awe of me, make fun of me, call me out when you see something that you don't like. So say what you will about Nehru. A leader is, after all, as strong as the joke that he can take. And unfortunately, by that metric, most of our leaders, regardless of their political parties, are remarkably weak. Because if you think beating up a comedian is your idea of projecting strength, then you have no idea how weak you actually look. Now, I know some of you may not agree with this. Some of you might say, you are an economist, stick to economics. You're right. Better to keep quiet, shut up, and stay in one's lane. After all, this freedom of speech stuff was always overrated to begin with. For others who aren't afraid of some noise, like, share, and subscribe to The Bond Economist.